Together, we will aim for high score through smart learning, optimum utilization of time, and less stress. Today, we are going to revise the chapter The Last Leaf by O. Henry. So let's begin with the revision. We'll be doing the explanation of the chapter along with the questions. So this is chapter 7 of your book. It is autumn. The wind is blowing hard and it is raining heavily. All the leaves of an ivy creeper have fallen except one. Why doesn't the last leaf fall? So this is the question that the chapter will answer. It is a very interesting and touching chapter. Sue and Johnsy, two young artists, shared a small flat. The flat was on the third story of an old house. So we are told in the first line that they are two young artists, Sue and Johnsy, and they share a small flat. Johnsy fell very seriously ill in November. She had pneumonia. She would lie in her bed without moving, just gazing out of the window. So she would lie there gazing. Gazing is to look steadily and intently, eagerly to look at something. So what she would do, she would just lie in her bed and gaze out of the window. Sue, her friend, became very worried. She sent for the doctor. Although he came every day, there was no change in Johnsy's condition. So here we have a question that why there was no change in Johnsy's condition. So first we will do what happened to Johnsy and what did the doctor say? Why was there no change in her condition? So Johnsy was suffering from pneumonia as we just read. She was seriously ill and kept on lying in her bed without moving, gazing out of the window all the time. The doctor who came to examine her asked her friend Sue if there was anything troubling her because according to him she had lost all hope of recovery. He added that till she didn't develop a will to recover, medicines would not work. So that is why there was no change in her condition even after so many days. So let's read further. So doctor came and one day the doctor took Sue to one side and said, "Is anything worrying Johnsy?" "No," replied Sue. "But why do you ask?" The doctor said, "Johnsy, it seems, has made up her mind that she is not going to get well. If she doesn't want to live, medicines will not help her." So this is the answer that we've already done. So why there is no change? So there is no change because she has lost all hope of recovery. So doctor says that if she does not develop a will to live, if she is not helping herself, medicines they are not going to help. Sue tried her best to make Johnsy take interest in things around her. So she talked about clothes and fashions, but Johnsy did not respond. Johnsy continued to lie still on her bed. Sue brought her drawing board into Johnsy's room and started painting. To take Johnsy's mind off her illness, she whistled while working. So Sue, like a good friend, she became worried and she tried to divert her attention to things of her liking. But Johnsy did not respond. She even brought her drawing board into the room so that she can be there around her and try to divert her attention. She whistled while working, but nothing was helping. So suddenly Sue heard Johnsy whisper something. She quickly rushed to the bed and heard Johnsy counting backwards. She was looking out of the window and was saying 12. After some time she whispered 11, then 10, then 9, 8, 7. Sue anxiously looked out of the window. She saw an old ivy creeper climbing halfway up the brick wall opposite their window. In the strong wind outside, the creeper was shedding its leaves. So Sue heard one day Johnsy counting backwards. So she went near her and saw that there was an ivy creeper on the opposite wall of their window, and because it was autumn season, it was shedding leaves, and Johnsy was counting those leaves. So anxiously means nervously. So Sue nervously saw outside that what is happening there. So let's take the questions first. So here, next question is, how did Sue try to divert Johnsy's attention? So Sue got worried about her friend after listening to the doctor who said that she had made up her mind that she was not going to get well. So Sue tried to divert her attention towards the things of her liking, like clothes and fashion, and even whistled at times to brighten up her mood. But Johnsy did not respond. Now, what did Johnsy tell Sue when she asked about the reason for her counting backwards? So we have read that she was counting backwards. Now let's first see what reason Johnsy gives and then we'll take the question. So here, what is it, dear Sue asked. So when Sue heard that Johnsy is counting like this, counting backwards, she asked that what is she doing? 6, whispered Johnsy. They are falling faster now. 3 days ago there were just almost 100 leaves. There are only 5 left now. It is autumn, said Sue, and the leaves will fall. When the last leaf falls, I will die, said Johnsy with finality. Now, finality here means for sure. It was her calling. It was her calling means from inside. It was like telling her that her end has come. I have known this for the last 3 days. Oh, that's nonsense, replied Sue. What have old ivy leaves to do with your getting well? The doctor is confident that you will get better. So Sue obviously she was trying to comfort her. She was trying to tell her that what she is thinking that is not correct. It is autumn and leaves they fall in autumn. So let's take this question first. So what did John C. tell Sue when she asked about the reason for her counting backwards? So Sue was trying hard to divert the attention of John C. from her illness, but John C. kept looking out of the window. Sue realized that looking at the ivy creeper climbing halfway up the brick wall opposite to their window, she was counting backwards. Sue asked John C. about this strange behavior. So then what happened? Let's see. Johnsy replied that 3 days before there were almost 100 leaves on that creeper, and only 5 were left. She declared that with the fall of the last leaf she would also die. Sue tried to explain that it was autumn and leaves fall during autumn. It had nothing to do with her getting well, but Johnsy refused to listen. So she told the reason and she said that now the leaves they are falling faster and the day the last leaf would fall she will die. So Sue tried hard to explain it to her that there's no connection between the falling leaves and her health, but Johnsy refused to listen. So let's see what happened then. So Sue even told the doctor was confident that you were going to get better, but John C. did not say anything. So Sue went, she brought a bowl of soup, and she said that I don't want any soup. Said John C. I'm not hungry. Now there are only 4 leaves left. I want to see the last one fall before it gets dark, and then I'll sleep forever. So this shows that how depressed she was. She was under a state of depression and she was not ready to listen to any reason. Sue sat on Johnson's bed, kissed her, and said, you are not going to die. I can't draw the curtain, for I need the light. I want to finish the painting and get some money for us. Now, Sue said that she cannot draw the curtain because she needs light as she was painting in her room only, and she said that nothing is going to happen to her, she's not going to die. So she says, please, my dear, my dear friend she begged Johnsy, promise not to look out of the window while I paint. So she took a promise from Johnsy that while she is painting, she should not look out of the window and she should try to take some rest. So Johnsy said, all right, finish your painting soon, for I want to see the last leaf fall. I am tired of waiting. I have to die. So let me go away peacefully, like one of those poor tired leaves. So Johnsy, again she said in a very depressed state that she is tired of waiting. She is waiting every day that when would that last leaf fall. And then she will also sleep peacefully like those poor tired leaves. Try to sleep, said Sue. I have to paint an old miner. I will call Behrman up to be my model. So now there's another artist called Behrman and he lives on the ground floor and he earns money by becoming model for other young artists. So Sue said that she will bring Behrman because she has to paint an old miner. So Sue rushed down. Behrman lived on the ground floor. He was 60-year-old painter. His lifelong dream was to paint a masterpiece. So this is, you need to remember that he himself was a painter. He was 60 years old and he had a dream to paint a masterpiece, but it had remained a dream. It had remained a dream means till that day he was not able to paint a masterpiece. Sue poured out her worries to Behrman. So poured out her worries to Behrman means that when Behrman came, so when she went to call Behrman, so there she told Behrman about Johnsy everything. So she told him that how Johnsy was convinced that she would die when the last leaf fell. Is she stupid? Said Behrman. So on listening to this, obviously Behrman said that this is stupid. How can she be so foolish? She's running a high temperature, complained Sue. She refuses to eat or drink, and that worries me a lot. So Sue shared all her problems with Behrman. I will come with you and see Johnsy, Behrman said. So Behrman said, okay, I'll come with you. And he had to be her model also. So he says that I'll come with you and I'll see what is happening with Johnsy. So they tiptoed into the room. Tiptoed means without making any noise. So they went inside the room and Johnsy was sleeping. Sue drew the curtains together and they went to the next room. So, since she was sleeping, they did not disturb her. So, she drew the curtains in front of the window and they went to the next room. She peeped out through the window. There was only one leaf on the creeper. It was raining heavily and an icy cold wind was blowing. So, when she showed that leaf to Behrman, there was now only one leaf left. And she said that when this leaf will fall, Johnsy believes that with that she will die. It seemed as though the leaf would fall any minute now. Behrman did not say a word. He went back to his room. So, listening to all this, obviously Behrman knew that this is being stupid, but he did not say anything and he went back. Johnsy woke up next morning. In a feeble voice, she asked Sue to draw the curtains. So, next morning, when Johnsy woke up, the first thing that she asked was to draw the curtains back. In a feeble voice means very weak, without any energy. Sue was nervous. Now, Sue also knew that last night it had rained heavily, so the leaf would not be there. Winds they were blowing hard, and so very nervously she drew the curtains back, reluctantly, hesitatingly. So she was nervous and she was hesitant to draw the curtains back. Oh! Exclaimed as she looked at the vine creeper. Look! There is still one leaf. So when she looked outside, now she was believing that there would be no leaf, but to her excitement, to her astonishment, one leaf was still there. So she was very excited and she told Johnsy that there you have the leaf. Leaf on the creeper. It looks quite green and healthy. In spite of the storm and the fierce winds, it didn't fall. So now let's take the questions, then we'll come back to the rest of the chapter. So next is what prevented Johnsy from recovering. Johnsy had developed a fancy that with the fall of the last leaf on the ivy creeper that grew on the opposite wall of their window, she would die. She was gazing out of the window all the time and counting the leaves on the creeper. As her obsession increased, her depression also deepened. She had lost the will to improve. Even the doctors told Sue that if she didn't want to live, medicines would not work. So this prevented her from recovering. So her willpower, her determination, she had all lost that. She had lost all hope also. So all this was preventing her from recovering. And with this, her depression and obsession was increasing. Next question. Now, how did Sue try to boost her up? So, all the time Sue was trying to boost her morale. So, Sue rubbished all the fancies of Johnsy. Rubbished means she said that all that she was thinking is useless, it's nonsense, and told her that the leaves they were falling due to water. There was no connection between the falling leaves and her health. She told her that even the doctor was confident about her getting better. She brought soup for her and sat beside her, cheering and encouraging her to have faith in herself. So Sue was trying hard, but Johnsy was not improving at all. Now there's a difference between these two questions. When if a question is how she was trying to boost her up, and Previously, we've done a question how she was trying to divert her attention. So there's a difference. If you will write all these things together, like if you'll write what she was doing to divert her attention in this answer, that will also be correct. But these things should come. Boost her up if you won't write that she brought soup and she sat beside her, cheering and encouraging her. So then it will be wrong. Next question. What did Sue tell Behrman about Chauncey? Sue was very concerned about the health of Chauncey and she didn't have anyone else to talk to. So she poured out her worries to Behrman. She told him how Chauncey was convinced that she would die when the last leaf fell. She added that she was having a high temperature and refused to eat or drink, and that was worrying her a lot. So she told everything that was going on within her, and she told that how Johnsy was not trying to improve. So she told her heart, poured her heart out to Behrman. Now, if a question comes, what is Behrman? So we have these are the lines here, but I haven't included the question here because we'll be writing the character sketch of Behrman and there we'll be writing everything. So, but if there's a short question, so this is the answer that she rushed down. Behrman lived on the ground floor. He was 60 years old and he had a dream to paint a masterpiece. He was taken into excessive drinking also. Okay, now let's move to the next part now. What happened the next morning when Johnsy woke up? How did she realize her mistake? So, first we will read this paragraph. How did she realize her mistake? Then we'll take up this question. So, now, in spite of the storm and fierce winds, it did not fall. I heard the wind last night, said Johnsy. I thought it would have fallen. It will surely fall today, then I'll die. You won't die, said Sue energetically. You have to live for your friends. What would happen to me if you die? So now John Stevens saw that there was still that one last leaf on the ivy creeper, but still she was not convinced. And she said that if the leaf hadn't fallen last night, it will fall today. It will fall today and then I'll die. So Sue now said that nothing is going to happen to you. You have to live for your friends. Chauncey smiled weakly and closed her eyes. After every hour or so, she would look out of the window, but every time she found the leaf was still there. It seemed to be clinging to the creeper. In the evening, there was another storm, but the leaf did not fall. Chauncey lay for a long time looking at the leaf. Then she called out to Sue. So Chauncey was still waiting that the leaf would fall. Now it will fall, now it will fall, but the leaf did not fall. So after waiting for long, then she called Sue and said, I have been a bad girl. You have looked after me so lovingly, and I have not cooperated with you. I have been depressed and gloomy. So gloomy means sad, melancholic, or hopeless. The last leaf that has shown me how wicked I have been. I have realized that it is a sin to want to die. So now Johnsy had realized that what she had been thinking, it was not at all correct. So both of them hugged. Then she gave her lots of hot soup and a mirror. So Johnsy combed her hair and smiled brightly. So she had developed a hope again. Now let's take this question. What happened the next morning when Johnsy woke up? How did she realize her mistake? The next morning, when Johnsy woke up, she was expecting that the last leaf would have fallen. She very reluctantly drew back the curtains, for she was also sure that the leaf would not have withstood the heavy rain and strong winds. So Sue also, she felt that the leaf would not be there. But to her surprise, the leaf was still there, fresh and green. In spite of the storm, it hadn't fallen. But Johnsy still thought that it would fall soon. She kept on checking the leaf after every hour to find if the leaf was still there on the wall or not. So she was looking at the leaf again and again after every hour, but the leaf was still there. It seemed as though the leaf was clinging to the creeper. In the evening, there was another strong storm, and the leaf did not fall. Seeing the leaf braving the storm, Johnsy realized her mistake and called Sue to apologize. So, when after a long time the leaf did not fall, then Johnsy realized that if a small leaf could brave the storm, if the small leaf could withstand such a storm and strong winds, then why can't I? So she felt sorry for her behavior and for not cooperating with her because of her depression and foolish fancy. She added that she had realized that thinking of dying was a sin, and the last leaf had taught her how wicked she had been. She then got up, drank soup, combed her hair, and smiled brightly. So, this is how she realized her mistake. Then, what happened next? In the afternoon, the doctor came. After examining his patient, he told Sue, Johnsy now has the will to live. I am confident she will recover soon. But I must go downstairs to see Behrman. He is also suffering from pneumonia, but I am afraid there is no hope for him. So the doctor comes to examine Johnsy. He is happy for Johnsy, but he also gives the sad news to the girls that Behrman is also suffering from pneumonia, but he doesn't have any hope. The next morning, Sue came and sat on Johnsy's bed. Taking Johnsy's hand in hers, she said, I have something to tell you. Mr. Behrman died of pneumonia this morning. He was ill for only 2 days. So within 2 days, Behrman, he died. So he says, Sue is telling Johnsy what had happened. So she is saying that he was ill only for 2 days. The first day, the janitor found him on his bed. So janitor is a caretaker of the building, or the person who cleans and takes care of the building. So his clothes and shoes, they were wet and he was shivering. He had been out in that stormy night. So Sue tells Johnsy that Behrman, he was out in that stormy night. His shoes and his clothes, they were all wet, and when the janitor found him on the bed, he was shivering badly. So what news about Behrman did the doctor give to the girls? When the doctor came to examine Johnsy, he felt satisfied as Johnsy had developed the will to live. He said Johnsy would recover soon, but with this he gave sad news. He said that Behrman was also suffering from pneumonia and there was no hope for him. So this is the sad news that the doctor gave, and after 2 days Behrman died. So Sue is telling Johnsy that he was wet and his shoes, his clothes, because he had been out in the stormy night. So after that, then they found a ladder and a lantern still lighted lying near his bed. There were also some brushes and green and yellow paints on the floor near the ladder. Johnsy dear, said Sue, look out of the window. Look at that ivy leaf. Haven't you wondered why it doesn't flutter when the wind blows? That's Behrman's masterpiece. He painted it the night the last leaf fell. So this is the ending of the story that amazes the readers. And Behrman, he sacrificed his life for Johnsy because he wanted Johnsy to develop the willpower to live. And in doing so, he lost his life, but he completed and fulfilled his dream. That was to paint a masterpiece. So, a very touching story. Let's take the questions now. The next question, what had happened to Behrman? Or what did Sue tell Johnsy about Behrman? Sue told Johnsy that Behrman died of pneumonia. He was ill for only 2 days. She said that when the janitor found him on his bed, his clothes and shoes were wet and he was shivering. He had been out in the stormy night. From the things that were found near him, a ladder, a lantern, and some brushes, green and yellow paints, Sue figured why that the leaf on the wall didn't flutter when the wind blew. He had been out the whole stormy night painting that leaf after the last leaf had fallen. Sue called it as his masterpiece, as a tribute to the compassionate soul. So obviously it was a masterpiece, and Sue and Johnsy, they were grateful for him for doing so. What is Behrman's masterpiece and what makes you say so? So this is an important question. The last leaf on the ivy creeper that did not fall and looked quite green and healthy was Behrman's masterpiece. He painted that leaf in the stormy night after the last leaf on the ivy creeper had fallen. The leaf painted by him looked so real and natural that even the two artists, Sue and Johnsy, they were not able to recognize it to be false. So initially, both the girls they were not able to recognize that the last leaf that is still there, it is a false leaf. It is only when they got the news that Behrman had died, and then they heard of the things that were lying near to her. So she realized that the leaf outside it wasn't a real leaf. So it gave new hope to Johnsy and she recovered. Though Johnsy recovered, Behrman was not able to survive the storm and died of pneumonia. Sue declared it as his masterpiece because it gave Johnsy the strength to fight back and come out of her depression. Johnsy realized that if a leaf could hold on, why could she? So it was just because of that leaf that Johnsy was able to develop her determination and hope again. Now next, theme of the story. Now for this theme, we do not require the chapter, so I am going to make it full screen and let's do it. Yes, so this is the theme now. The story Last Leaf by O. Henry is a story of selfless sacrifice and that life should not be wasted on meaningless fancies and obsessions. So this is the important part. Selfless sacrifice. Sacrifice and compassion is important in life, and one should also not waste this life on meaningless fancies and obsessions. Life is a gift and it should be lived to the fullest. So, life is a gift, and one should make it beautiful by living it to the fullest. Also, life becomes easy when you have people who care for you, who love you, and are worried about you. Sue and Johnsy, they share such a bond between them. Behrman in the story is a symbol of sacrifice. He is like a mentor to these girls. Though Johnsy at one point of her life loses faith in herself, but because of Sue and Behrman, she gets another chance to live her life. Behrman, without caring for his life, gives hope to Johnsy by painting a leaf in the stormy night, which of course becomes his masterpiece that he had been yearning for throughout his life. So this is the theme. Important part in the theme is sacrifice, selfless sacrifice, then friendship, and then that you have to live your life to the fullest. Don't waste your life on meaningless things. And the bond between friends, that is also important. And sacrifice of Behrman, that was supreme. Now the title. Do you think the title of the story is apt? So the title holds the attention of the reader right from the beginning. The reader finds Johnsy laying all her hopes on the last leaf that could fall any time in the dark and stormy night. The backward counting of Johnsy is like ticking of the clock, which engages the reader to see what happens when the counting reaches the last leaf. Johnsy's depression is enhanced by the dark, stormy night outside, and so is her obsession with the last leaf. So, the connection of the story to the last leaf is right from the beginning. Towards the end, the focus shifts on the last leaf painted by Behrman that provides hope and meaning to Johnsy's life. The last leaf in the end becomes a symbol of selfless sacrifice and optimism. Thus, the title Last Leaf is justified, apt, and significant. So, towards the end, if the focus shifts, the focus still is on the last leaf. Now it is on the last leaf that is painted by Behrman. So, the last leaf in the end, it is the symbol of selfless sacrifice and optimism. So, throughout the story, it is the last leaf that is the central point. So, that is why the title it is apt, justified, and significant. Now, character sketch of Behrman. Behrman is a 60-year-old struggling artist. It seems that he hasn't got the right inspiration throughout his life and therefore yearns for a masterpiece. He lives on the ground floor in the same building as Sue and Johnsy. His untidy looks and the habit of excessive drinking hides the compassion and tenderness of his heart. He is a mentor to Sue and Johnsy, who also share their worries with him. When Sue tells him about Johnsy's obsession, He rejects her notion of associating her death with the fall of the last leaf on the ivy creeper. He calls her stupid, but makes up his mind to rekindle hope in Johnsy, who is suffering from severe depression and pneumonia. He paints a leaf in the stormy night, replacing the leaf that had fallen due to strong wind to bring back hope and faith in Johnsy. In doing so, he risks his life and is not able to survive the cold biting storm. Johnsy survives and recovers because of that clinging leaf to the creeper that seems to her having braved the storm. This selfless sacrifice leads to the fulfillment of his lifelong dream of painting a masterpiece. So, this is the character Behrman. Now, here I haven't used the acronym this time because I want you to do it on your own. So, Behrman, so first, this 60-year-old struggling artist, this is the appearance, and then it is seems that he hasn't got the right inspiration, so that is what he is yearning for. His mind, in his mind, he has this thought that he has to paint a masterpiece. So he lives on the ground floor. This also comes in the appearance. So what he looks like and where he lives, what is his profession, all this comes in appearance. So in the same building as Hugh and Johnsy, his untidy looks and habit of excessive drinking hides the compassion and tenderness of his heart. So these are his traits, compassion and tenderness of his heart. He is a mentor to Sue and Johnsy, who also share their worries with him. So he is a mentor. So this is relationship from our relationship. When Sue tells him about Johnsy's obsession, he rejects her notion of associating her death with the fall of the last leaf on the ivy creeper. So Sue is sharing the problems with all her problems with Behrman. It is because of his compassionate and caring heart. So these are the traits. So the acronym, if you remember, it is STREAM. So it is discussed in the previous character sketch of Happy Prince that I did. So if you want to refer to the acronym, you can go back. Then he calls her stupid. So this is from S, says, what the character says. So he calls Johnsy stupid because he feels that whatever she is thinking, that is not correct. But even then, he makes up his mind to rekindle hope in Johnsy, who is suffering from severe depression and pneumonia. So this is action from A, what he does. So he paints the leaf. So he paints the leaf in the stormy night, replacing the leaf that had fallen due to strong wind to bring hope and faith back in Johnsy. In doing so, he risks his life and he is not able to survive the cold biting storm. But Johnsy survives and recovers because of that clinging leaf to the creeper that seems to her having braved the storm. So, now concluding line, this selfless sacrifice leads to the fulfillment of his lifelong dream of painting a masterpiece. So, with this, we finish the revision of this chapter, and I hope that you have understood the chapter very nicely. Now, these are the topics that I've already covered. So, if you want to have a look at any of these topics, you can go back to the video. The links of all these videos I'll be giving in the description box. So that's all for today. But before saying bye, do subscribe to my channel if you haven't. Give it a thumbs up and also write a nice comment because it will be very encouraging for you. For me, sorry. Thank you very much. And